Okay, so hopefully we won't hear too many bumps and bangs from the guys downstairs replacing the furnace, but I did want to show this. If you are working with the grease pencil in Blender and you want to uh, make some see this little shift in weight from one side to the other? Well, that's being done with a lattice, right? This lattice, if I turn these lattice keys off, you'll see that there is no change in his body. So basically the lattice is doing all the heavy lifting. That's a cool thing because what that means is that if the underlying drawing changes, I ink it, fill in the colors and all of the animation that goes with the lattice carries through. So, and by the way, ignore me. I'm getting rid of these vertex groups because they're irrelevant for what we're doing right now. I was doing an experiment with armatures yesterday, and frankly, it went badly. But anyway, and this key I could probably get rid of. Yep, I don't need it. So I just have this key. But there is a problem. And the problem is the whole animation from one position to the other is way too abrupt. It looks stupid. There's like this smooth flow from one to the other. Okay, what are we going to do about that? Well, what we're going to do about it is go right up in here to the corner of the 3D window and just drag to the left. And what happens is you just split your interface. Now go here, and what we want to look at is the timeline. And in the timeline, we can see the animation keys. And actually, I'm sorry, forgive me, that was not what I wanted. I didn't want the timeline. We can see that down here, actually. This does bring up an interesting point, though. When you're working with the grease pencil and working with other animation tools, it's not a bad idea to actually have two instances of the dope sheet open or the timeline so that one of them is showing the grease pencil and the other one is showing all the other animation keys. Because here's your grease pencil keys. And if we switch to the regular dope sheet, we can see again the lattice animation keys. So it's often helpful to be able to see both at the same time. As far as I know, there's not a way to keep these playback heads right here, this and this, in synchronization if you had two timelines, one over top of each other. But I mean, they're in synchronization in the sense that they're obviously staying together in time, but keeping the two timelines where you can like scale it in and out and move around. Having that stay synchronized, I don't think is possible. But anyway, back to the task at hand. We didn't want the timeline. What we wanted was the graph editor. The graph editor shows us graphically the animation keys that we just put in there. And we got a couple ways we could go with this. Okay, so first of all, let's zoom in on Mel so we can see what's going on. As we cross over here, you can see that shift. Okay, we don't want that shift to be so abrupt. So there's a couple things we can do about it. One is we can actually just adjust the animation curves like so. We can tighten up the easing that way. Or we could actually change the interpolation. If I hit the T key, I can change the interpolation to constant, which means it's going to actually, there's a little bit of an easing here because this curve is a Bezier curve, but what's going to happen is it's going to ease into that, but then snap to the other. See that? Now if I change this to constant as well, now we've got a complete stair-stepped animation. And that's probably what we want for a show like this. So let's just see how that feels. Not bad, not bad. And of course, you can hit the G key, grab a point, and hit the G key and actually adjust these so that you, in real time, you can actually see the effect that they're having. Maybe in another video we'll get into something called drivers, and what drivers do are let you take animated parameters like this and actually link them to other things in the scene where you could have a widget or a relationship maybe between two bones where the bend angle, when the bend angle changes, it causes a lattice key to be invoked. And the typical use case for that would be you bend your arm and you want your bicep to swell up a little bit, look like it's flexing, right? Well, you do that with a driver. So what we're seeing here is kind of the beginnings of that kind of an approach. I'm going to switch this back. Let me switch this to linear and see what that feels like. That's terrible. That's terrible. Now if I move it to here so that the actual change is pretty quick, just a couple frames, that's not bad. That's not bad. I'm going to spread this out a little bit. I'm hitting Control and then dragging with my middle mouse button. And I'm going to hit the G key, and let's see, I want to be 1, 2, I really want like 2 frames is all. Now, to be fair though, I must say we are at 12 frames a second. So, I'm tossed, but I would say probably just 2 frames will do the trick. So let's do that. Yep. I don't want it to be constant interpolation, I think. So we've got the jump from here to here. Boom. It's a sudden jump. And then a more gradual jump from there to there. Okay, so there you go. It's been 5 minutes or so. And hopefully this turned out to be kind of useful.